Hey, this is Nick from Income Digs. Welcome to this video tutorial where I show you the exact tools and processes I use within my real estate investing business. And today, by popular demand, I'm giving you a video on how to create an amortization schedule in Google Sheets or Excel if you use that. Pretty much the same process, but this is a more advanced version. So I have a couple of videos out there how to make kind of a simple amort schedule. And this one's going to be a little bit advanced because we had some requests about how to add additional principal payments, how to calculate your payoff in months and years, and to kind of play with your loan to see how you might be able to pay less interest and pay it off faster. Okay, so this applies to any loan where you're paying principal and interest. Obviously, in this context, we're talking about real estate, but for those of you out there with student loans or any loan really, it will apply. Okay, so try to follow along the best you can. Take your time with it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. This one is a little bit more technical, so it might be a little bit tough. Just take your time and just copy me exactly, okay? So with that, let's get into it. Let's get to Google Sheets. Okay, so the first thing that I would like for you to do is try to set up your Google Sheet or your Excel to be pretty much mirroring what I have here. And there's really nothing in here other than kind of the title of my sheet, and then I have some fields here where I'm going to put in some numbers. All right, and if you want to format these, you can format them as you go, but we're going to put in the principal amount, the interest rate, term, initiation date. This here, this minimum monthly payment is going to be a calculation. This is going to be additional principal. We're going to put calculations in here. I like to have like some way of differentiating between calculations and information that I enter, and that's why I have these here. Okay. So then the other thing that you can do if you want to freeze your panes, so grab these 5 rows and freeze them. So you can highlight the 5th row and you can go to freeze. Okay, now if you are on Excel, you'd be selecting the row below it and you would freeze from there. All right, and then give these headings into these rows here. All right, and again with formatting, if you want to format these to dates, number, all these other ones are numbers. All right, now we have nothing in them; they're blank. But go ahead and format if you'd like. And then you can take this here and put period. So, obviously a quick thing that you can do with Excel or Google Sheets, you can just start the sequence. So 0, 1, 2, and I can click and drag that down. It's going to fill it in. So let me demonstrate that if it's blank. All right, so I got 0, 1, 2, okay. And if I take this and I drag it down, it's going to give me all those other numbers. And drag it all the way down to be 360, okay? Not the 360th row, but so that our numbers get to 360. All right, because if you think about it, you could potentially have a 30-year loan, which would be 360 periods, okay? Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to put in some sample information in here, something that we can kind of play with. And go ahead and follow me on this and do exactly what I do here. For the principal, put in $200,000. So here we're saying that we have a $200,000 loan. And again, now is the time if you want to format this, you can do that. I don't really need decimals for that. Interest rate, I'm going to put at 5%. Okay. To format, you can go up here to do that. Term in years, I'm going to say that this is a 15-year loan. All right. In my initiation date, why don't we say that it's 12/1? Let's go with 1/1/2020. Okay. Additional principal, leave that blank for now. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to calculate our minimum monthly payment. Now our minimum monthly payment, this is something that is a formula in Excel and in Google Sheets. So all we have to do here is do equal sign, and we're going to do the formula payment, which is PMT, open your parentheses, and the first thing we're going to grab is our interest rate. So you're going to grab B3. Now you have to divide it by 12 because we're doing a monthly payment. All right, now we're doing number of periods, which is going to be our term times 12. Okay, and then lastly, what is the present value? What's the principal? And that's right there. All right, and that is our minimum monthly payment formula. Okay, now it shows up as negative because the money is leaving our account. All right, and that's all we're going to do with that formula for now. All right, next thing I want you to do is go in here and date. And this first row is going to be really easy. We're just going to be kind of grabbing from here. because this is period 0. This is like on the start date. So here, all we're going to do is we're going to go and grab equals the initiation date. All right, nice and easy. Okay, now the interest payment in year 0, or I'm sorry, in period 0, month 0 is going to be 0. I'm not paying anything. So just put a 0 in there. Principal payment's going to be 0. Additional principal, leave that blank. Ad hoc principal, leave that blank. Our loan balance, you can do an equal sign, is going to equal our principal balance. That is period 0, what is going to happen, okay? So that's the easy part. Now we're going to get into some formulas where we're going to start dragging this thing down and showing our amort schedule. Now the first formula we're going to do is in the date field here, and this is a kind of a simple concept, but you might not know the formula. What we're going to do here is we're pretty much going to use equals date formula. So equals date, and what it's asking you for is give me the year, give me the month, give me the day. So the year is going to be the same year as above. So you can do year, open parentheses, and grab above. Close parentheses. Month, you're going to do month from above. And we're going to add 1 because now we're doing 1 more month. Day, make it the first day of the month. Now, I'm doing that assuming that we're starting our loan on the 1st of the month. If that's not the case, let's say that we're starting on the 15th. All right, now this is wrong, so to fix that, instead of hard coding in a 1, we can just do day and grab that here, okay? So that's probably a better way to do it. And all we're doing is we're referencing the cell above, okay? There we go. So I can click this and drag it down. Now, we can do that, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to drag down all of my cells at once. Okay, so my interest payment. Now, your interest payment, you could say that I'm going to take my minimum monthly payment, and there's an interest formula that you could do. But what I want to do is, because this is an advanced setup, is I want to take our loan balance and calculate the interest off of that. Okay, and so to do that, we're going to grab our loan balance, and we're going to multiply that loan balance by our interest rate divided by 12. Okay, and it gives us 833.33. Now, this money is leaving my account, so I need to make it negative. So all I got to do is just put a negative sign in front of it, and it's going to give me that negative 833.33. Okay, really important Excel tip here. This B3 interest rate, as I drag this down, my formula is going to want to drag down with it. So I need to lock that in, all right? So I'm going to put my dollar signs around B3 and lock it in so that when I drag it down, it stays with B3, okay? Principal payment. Okay, so what is our principal payment going to be? It's pretty much going to be our minimum monthly payment minus the loan balance, okay? So, or I'm sorry, minus the interest payment. So I can pretty much say equals, I'm sorry there. Okay, so I can pretty much say equals, let's see here. So this would be our minimum monthly payment, okay, minus my interest payment. And that's my principal payment. Now we're going to have to adjust this in a second, but first let's lock in my reference to my minimum monthly payment. Okay, so that's how much I'm going to be paying in principal. My additional principal, I'm just going to lock this in as an equals to this cell here, and I'm going to be dragging that down, okay? So I'm just going to lock that in. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to call that negative so that I can put it in as a positive number over here. So if I put in 20, it's going to be a negative 20. Ad hoc principal, this is where you are going to potentially put in another negative, $400. This is going to be a field that you can fill in. So I'm actually going to make that yellow. All right, now loan balance, all this is going to be, we're going to take equal sign equals the loan balance from before, okay, plus all the other stuff that's happening because these are negatives, right? So I could just do plus sum of all of these, okay? And there we have my loan balance for the next one, okay? And I just want to check something with you real quick. Okay, so 833, yep. Actually, I'm sorry about that. The interest payment should not be included there, okay? So that does not make any sense. The interest is an expense, right? So this is just going to be right here, 199,251. Okay, so we're taking the loan balance from before, and then we're taking all of our principal payments. That's the one that's automatically calculated, and then our additional and our ad hoc, okay? And so these are now ready to drag down. I can just take all these and drag them down. If I put in a 20 here, you're going to see everything kind of change. All right, if I put in an extra -420 here, everything's going to change. Put in a 300, it's going to change. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag these down, and then we have to address something. And you're going to kind of see what I mean in a second. So as I drag these down, I'm going to drag them all the way down to 360, and then we're going to kind of have a problem to deal with. But it's something that is something we can handle. All right, and here's the problem. You can probably already see it, is that we have a negative loan balance. We paid it off, and it just keeps going and going and going and going, right? So we have to figure out at what point in time does my loan reach zero and I stop paying it. All right, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's kind of complex, but stick with me and we'll be able to make it happen. What I'm going to do is kind of delete these for now, and we're going to put in this formula, and then we'll talk it through. So what I need to do is I pretty much need to ask the question, when should this reach zero? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with our principal payment, okay? And what I'm going to do with that principal payment is I'm pretty much going to say that if what I owe on the loan is less than my minimum monthly minus my interest, then I'm going to be paying less. All right, this might sound a little crazy, but I'm going to put an if statement in here. Okay, and that if statement is if minus G6, so if minus G6, okay, is less than E3 minus C7, okay, well then what? Then I'm going to be taking E3 minus C7, okay? All right, just stick with me here. So if, I gotta open the parentheses, kind of messed me up there. So if minus G6 is less than E3 minus C7, then I'm gonna do E3 minus C7. If not, I'm gonna just do minus G6. Basically what I'm saying is that if the principal amount that I owe is less than my principal amount that I would pay with our minimum monthly payments, then I'm not gonna pay what's on the minimum monthly payment, I'm going to pay just whatever I owe, okay? So it's this if statement here, that, and I just locked things in, that's going to tell me when my principal amount should be less, okay? Might seem a little bit confusing, but that's going to work for us, okay? And similarly with the additional principal, I'm going to say that, hey, if I'm at a point where my loan's about to be paid off, I'm not going to pay any additional principal, okay? So same kind of if statement. If G6 is less than E3 minus C7, I'm just going to do, I'm going to keep it going with it. If not, I'm going to do 0. So I can go in here, okay, and I can do if, open parentheses, and it's going to be the same thing. Minus G6 is less than E3 minus C7. Then I'm going to do minus F3. If not, I'm going to do 0. Okay? And again, we got to lock in that E3. Okay? So those are ready to go. All right, so now let's drag things down and see what happens with that. So let's grab everything and let's bring it all down. Now you can do the autofill if you know how to do that with the shortcuts. I like to show it this way just for those of us who don't use that. All right, and so now I'm seeing some zeros, which is exactly what I want to see because I paid off the loan. And the biggest point here, where that formula comes into play, is right here. Okay, notice that my loan balance is $1,293. Now my minimum monthly payment is $1,581.59, right? If I didn't have that if statement in there, this payment would show up kind of like this. But here I'm just saying, hey, my minimum monthly is going to put me way over, so just grab the interest and then grab what's remaining and then pay that thing off. And there it is, done, right? Okay, so a couple other steps I want to do with this. The first is just note that this ad hoc principle, if you were to add another payment here, right, the whole thing is going to adjust. What I want to do now with you is calculate what is my payoff month and what is my payoff year. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to put additional principal at 0. And let's do payoff month. So this is going to be kind of a complex formula. It's kind of like a VLOOKUP for those of you who are familiar with that, but it's actually an index formula. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the point in time within this matrix here where we find 0 for the first time. Okay, so that's going to be an equal sign index. Now this formula is asking us what reference are we searching, and you're going to grab a big matrix like this. Okay, now because we're only doing one formula, we're not going to need to lock the cells in. So I'm not going to do that. If you were grabbing this and dragging it around, you'd want to lock in this reference, but I'm not going to do that. All right. Now I could do whole columns and rows, but that would I'd have a circular reference, so just do that. All right. And now it's asking me, okay, well, what row are we going to find within this matrix? And all I'm going to say is, I want you to find the row that has 0 in it. So I want you to do, and here we're going to do a match formula, match 0. Okay. Within what range? Find it within this G range, and I'm going to put 0 for an exact match. Okay, just follow how I do that. And then what column? It's going to be the first column in the matrix. Okay, so again, what it's saying is I have this matrix here. Find the row where within G you find 0 first, and then use column return column 1. Okay, and if I do that, it shows me payoff in months is 180. That formula worked, right? And then payoff in years is going to be this divided by 12. Okay, 15. Now here's the magic of this whole setup that we did. If I do an additional principal of $300, notice that my payoff goes down to 141 months. It goes down to 11.75 years. That's pretty awesome, right? So you can play around with this and say, even just $20 is going to take 3 months off, right? All right, if it's an extra 1,000, you know, I'm cutting this whole thing almost in half. So you can play around with that. And you can also say like, okay, I'm going to do an extra 300 every month, and then maybe, you know, every third month, I'm going to do another additional $20, right? So I can take this here and I can fill that down. And, oh, if I did another 20, so if I grabbed it like this, it's going to bring all my 20s down. Actually, it didn't. Okay, but you kind of get the point, right? So you can put a bunch of negative 20s in here. So every 3 months you do an extra $20, and you can play around with that whole thing. Okay. Now I'm going to do one last little trick here, because something that kind of bothers me is all these zeros at the bottom. So one last little if statement that's going to get rid of those, and I'm pretty much going to say that if our period is beyond the term, then leave it blank. Okay, so I'm going to start with the date, and I'm going to do if our period is greater than our term times 12, then give me a open quotes, give me nothing. Whoops. Okay, and I needed to put that comma there. And then we should be good. All right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it over here. And I'm pretty much just getting rid of those extra rows that we know we're never going to need. All right, and click it and drag it down. All right, so hopefully you're still with me. And if you're not, like I said, ask questions on the comments. We're going to do a follow-up on this one too. Oh man, I messed it up, didn't I? All right, you know why? Because I didn't lock it in, right? So what do we got to do? We got to lock in that D. That D2 needs to be locked in, all right? And that's why, because as I dragged it down, it pulled the formula down, right? So for those of you who caught that, good job. And actually the 2 is really what matters because I'm pulling down. And now I'm messing the whole thing up. Okay, so now we should be good to do the whole thing. All right, so again, if you're doing mortgages, if you're doing student loans, it all works the exact same. Okay, and now look at it, it's all blank there, which is exactly what I wanted. I only wanted to show to the period that I need. I like to see these zeros because as I'm going to do in some of the future videos, I'm going to show you some charts, and I like to see the zeros as well. Okay, so with this whole setup, think about what you might want to learn from it, right? So we have the payoff in years. One thing we can potentially calculate is how much interest we're going to save on the loan over the period of time. So think about that as a potential as well, all right? I really appreciate you sticking with me during that. Again, it was pretty technical, so if you have questions, please ask them, and I will answer either with comments in the video itself, or maybe it warrants a follow-up video. We will have a few different parts to this, creating the graphs and doing some more calculations, but as you can see, there's some tremendous power in knowing how an additional payment can impact the total life of your loan. All right, thanks for sticking with me. Check out all the free materials available on incomedigs.com, and we'll see you on the next video.